And in another one, I saw teenagers walking together in unison through the streets. During what should have been school hours, they were singing and praising God on a mission. I understood that God is raising up a mighty generation in the youth, and do not underestimate them. They were going places and witnessing and ministering all on their own. And then in another one, I saw a dog. It was someone's pet, and it was being cooked outdoors to be eaten. And the message accompanying that one was famine. Then in another one, I saw 3 Pharisees. They were leaving the temple. They were leaving the city. They were approaching me, and they had this look of complete frustration on their faces, like they were totally disgruntled and they weren't going to put up with any of this spirit nonsense anymore. And the funny thing is that I saw, they look like, they look like Pharisees. They look like the priests from back then. But I noticed their shoes, and their shoes were black dress shoes that men wear today. And I understood with that one that an increase in legalism comes against the church. And in another one, I saw a group of people on a boat. It was a fishing boat, and they were going to a new land. They were fleeing destruction. They had to use whatever form of transportation was available. It was definitely not a luxury liner. These were Christian, the boat was full of people, but this vision zoomed in on a group of Christians that were on the boat. And I understood that they were not afraid, and they accepted loss, and they looked with anticipation at what was to come, totally trusting in God. And it zoomed in on a woman's face, and she stood at the front of the boat, and there was a look of sheer wonder on her face. She wasn't afraid. They were leaving America, and they were in icy cold waters. Then in another one, I had this one right after praying into this prayer. I saw rows and rows and rows of people behind bars, as if they were imprisoned. And I saw their arms reaching out from behind the bars, begging for release. They were desperate, crying out for deliverance. And I heard the Lord say, there are so many to be set free. That's generally speaking. I know He wasn't saying it was just for that neighborhood. But when I lived in that neighborhood, I really was amazed. I was fascinated with that neighborhood completely. This is a place where I got the West Nile. I was living behind a feed store, and I had never lived in that type of environment before. I think that's why I got the West Nile. I didn't have the immunity for it. I never lived in a place like that before. There's stray animals everywhere, and I liked it. It was really peaceful, and I thought I had finally found my element, but I guess not. But that neighborhood really left an impression on me. I like to experiment. I like to explore, because I grew up in a conservative family and never lacked anything. And so it's like when I divorced and then I married the same way, the same situation. I never struggled in the real world, and so when I divorced, it's almost like I made a point to put myself in situations where I would have to scrape by. I looking back, I know I didn't have to live some of the ways that I chose to live, but I think I just wanted to do it. I wanted to experience different types of living. And that neighborhood really left an impression on me. You know what? One thing that stands out in my mind about that place is I noticed the children everywhere. The children were outside playing. People were on their front porches laughing. The neighbors knew each other, and the children were outside playing together. on their swing sets and riding their little tricycles and playing ball in the street. I was like, whoa, am I in the 70s again in Oak Cliff? It was just like my upbringing, where the neighbors actually came outside and talked. And I didn't want to leave that place. My daughter wanted to go to a different school in a nearby town, so we moved, but I will never forget that place. And I feel relieved. I think I can get goofy again. I'm going to crash for a few days. I'm so tired. I'm going to crash for a few days and not even touch the computer. Yeah. Okay. Okay, bye.